Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. As the title of this one suggests, it's obviously just me completing while Guthix sleeps. Now, I didn't record obviously the main bulk of the fights or the narrative of what was going on in the quest, as obviously I'm sure any of you that want to watch like a proper guide are going to be checking out Slayer music or some kind of other proper guide channel that's obviously going to give you a little bit more information on what's actually going on in these fights. I just wanted to wait until the Quest Helper plugin had obviously come out because I'm a bit lazy and I didn't want to read through the wiki while I was trying to do the quest. So yeah, we're going to join me straight at the Sorok Magus fight. Now this one was a little bit challenging in terms of just making sure that I read the sidebar for his various special attacks and then making sure I just brought along sort of my best mage DPS gear along with the gear that you're given to wear specifically for it. So I was actually making use of the wrath runes I had to use the surge spells, as they're going to far outperform anything else that you'd be able to use, sort of the wave spells or anything like that. But it wasn't a particularly difficult boss fight, and I didn't think it was going to be, as obviously from what I've seen about the quest, a lot of people didn't think it was that much for a Grandmaster quest. But then we move on straight from that, straight into towards the final boss fight. This one, I'm not gonna lie, did take me a couple of attempts. I just couldn't quite get the press, which is quick enough. I don't quite understand that you needed to do them kind of instantly, but I was a little bit delayed on a lot of these, and that meant that obviously I then suffered the prayer drain as well as the stat drain, which just then means your DPS output was a bit rubbish. And obviously needing to have all three combat styles, obviously a lot of switches and stuff like that, which is still something I am working on, especially with doing a lot of the raiding that I have been doing recently with members of the clan and stuff like that. It was helpful the way that the Quest Helper plugin kind of had it on the screen rather than just on the sidebar. So yeah, as you can see, I just basically took a sort of tribrid setup in terms of armor that I was wearing, and then just had basically the back slot or cape slot as well as weapon exchange. So yeah, I was just using the bofa for the predominant amount of the fight, because the output from that thing is just massive, including obviously using the rigger that I got. So it did make sure that I could get the balance elemental down pretty quickly. It wasn't that challenging in terms to get it down to that far. It was then sort of after that where this attacks speed up and you're having to change it instantly, as well as obviously then making sure that you had the right combat style being used. It was just all something I wasn't quite expecting to be as difficult as it was. It took me a couple of attempts, obviously, as you saw there, that when I tried to enter first, I was just trying to use Elite Void, as that seems to be my preferred thing to use for various sort of questing, because it's a nice, easy gear to take along. And obviously, the three different helmets for the three different combat styles made it quite an efficient thing to use. But I just couldn't get the output in terms of damage, so I thought I would just take sort of more of a defensive tribrid setup, similar to what I would take if I was going to something like the Gorillas, or hopefully I'll be taking to Tormented Demons eventually, and hopefully fairly soon, to try and get myself at least one synapse so I can get the Emberlight and then move on and get the bow, as that's kind of the order I'm thinking of going. I think that's the best order, and then I do want to sort of complete it. So I will be going for obviously the third one to get the staff. And then obviously, the bone claws along the way, they would be, or burning claws as they've been changed to now, would be very, very helpful, as I've noticed that they can be quite helpful in raids, especially on things like Zabak and Barbar in TOA. It's definitely been helpful there, sort of giving that over time burn effect has been quite helpful when I've been raiding with different people. I'm not quite sure if that's just a couple people doing it makes it helpful, and then other people with other spec weapons, but it's certainly something that I will look into and sort of do a little bit of a check on whether or not it's worth amending my setup to bring those along. Obviously, as and when I do get them myself, hopefully as well, it will lead to quite a big increase in obviously bank value as well. So I wouldn't complain at that at all. But I'm assuming from what I've seen that the balance elemental, sort of the way it attacks, and the combat sort of triangle, the way it works, is going to be similar for that of the Tormented Demons, from what I understand from people killing them and saying in the clan, as well as Gumption killing them. they're not that complicated. If anything, they're a bit easier than demons because it's a longer period of time between their attacks changing and their prayers changing and things like that. Apart from at the moment where they're a bit broken, where they're not displaying their protection prayers. Not quite sure what's going on there. Not quite sure if there's been a patch or a hotfix done on that yet. But yeah, it's certainly something that I'll look into just before I get my next Greater Demon task, as obviously that will be the next sort of thing I do. We'll be hunting for those. I do have the final Zenite to get. No. A few more Zenites to get. So it would be nice to try and get the synapses to use there, rather than obviously just keep hunting as I have been with a whip and the Bofa at the gorillas. It would be nice to obviously use the better demon bane weapons. But I thought I'd leave in the cutscene. Pretty cool cutscenes, and overall the story behind this quest is pretty cool. Pretty interesting, but a lot of teleporting around and not so many things going on. Seeing Lucian obviously kill off a bunch of the Slayer Masters and things like that was not so much of a shock for me, because obviously I had the quest ruined by just watching people, unfortunately. But yeah, I will hopefully now I'm hoping that the next part of the Mahjarrat storyline, I think this is the same one, will be pretty good, and obviously that will then avenge those. You know, Kuradel in there as well, avenging her father. I do prefer the look of her with the dragon claws and things like that. It looks a bit more intimidating than Duradel with his little rune claws. But it was certainly an interesting quest, and I had no complaints. I do love the new art style of the Tormented Demons. Blows the gorillas out of the water for me. I do much prefer the way that they look. And I'm hoping by the time I actually get to killing these, I'll have looked up a little bit more of a better way to kill them. Because as you can see, this is not a good performance by me. And I understand there's two of them. But yeah, I'm certainly not putting in a great performance in terms of being able to kill them. I don't know why, because I understand the basic premise of killing them. But yeah, I just seem to sit and camp melee for some reason, rather than actually trying to change and stop any of their attacks coming in. But yeah, cool art style. I never completed the quest originally when it was on RS3, so this was something new for me entirely. So it was interesting, and I'm not sure how much it differs from the original quest, but it's certainly going to be something that's interesting to see how Jagex does obviously progress it. This week, obviously the main focus is obviously just getting this quest done and putting this out. I know obviously there's going to be a bunch of people out there that have completed it, and the videos that normally focus on these sorts of things, like when I did Desert Treasure 2, aren't massively popular because it's such an oversaturated thing. But I just wanted to put it in here to show that, yeah, no, you know, I had a bit of free time this week, so I thought I'd get it done, and then that can allow me to further progress by obviously getting these new best in slots for various different things. It will then mean I'll be more likely to go back to killing things like Cerberus, the Sire, and who else? The Duke. Obviously this is going to be helpful for getting Ember Light there. It's just various different bosses that obviously the Demon Bane weapons are going to have a massive increase in terms of my ability to kill them easily. I did like this final sort of cutscene where you're going back to Lictherin. It was, again, because I've not looked at it or done the quest previously on RS3, I had no idea what this was sort of about, and obviously having Dragon Slayer 2 in OSRS, from the best of my knowledge, is a completely different tangent to RS3. I'm not sure if the lore is the same with obviously the Dragonkin, but it is interesting watching these wake up and then seeing where this is going to go, if we're going to have some kind of Dragon Slayer 3 or something like that releasing, where the Dragonkin have some new ultimate dragon that inevitably we will defeat, because somehow our one adventurer is absolutely incredible and can defeat all of these things single-handedly while his friends just kill other things around you. Hopefully we don't lose anybody, you know, as close to us as Bob the Cat, but it's certainly interesting to see where they're going to go with this. Haven't obviously been reading up or watching any of the news blogs or any of the dev talks on any of this, so obviously all of this is purely speculative, but I would like to see, you know, something obviously then gone on with this and it not sort of left with no finishing off. It would be a bit of a shame if that's how they left it. But the rewards from this quest, pretty good. bunch of XP and skills I actually haven't 99'd, so yeah, it's always great. But for now, that's going to be it for this episode. Until next time.